welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and delighted to have back with us today Bill Walton. He's known as the Unwoke CEO. He's the host of the Bill Walton Show. He chairs the what they call the Resolute Protector Foundation, which is a 501c3 corporation. And it's a media production company that creates and produces original educational and entertainment content. In 2015, he served as chairman of the Tea Party Patriots. In 2016 and 17, he led the agency action and landing teams for the federal economic agencies for Donald J. Trump, a transitional team back then. So he's got a lot going on. He does have a website, BillWaltonShow.com, and there's a picture of that, the BillWaltonShow.com. There's a picture of his landing page. Bill, good to see you again. How are you, friend?
Hey, great talking with you. Thanks for having me back.
You bet. A lot to talk to you about, a short amount of time. What's your take on the No Kings rally through the weekend, and did it help or hurt the president?
Well, there are a couple, something springs to mind. There's grassroots movements, and you mentioned I was chairman of the Tea Party Patriots back, over 10 years ago, and that was considered a grassroots movement, bottoms up, people gathering based on emotion and belief, in our case, the Constitution. And then there's something called a grass tops gathering, which is really where it's been organized from the top of the movement, or a movement. And in this case, I think the No Kings movement had a lot of extra money from billionaires to help make this happen. You know, we've got the notorious George Soros, and sadly, Steve Jobs' ex-wife, Lorraine, is heavily involved in financing this. Lots of billionaires to help create momentum. It doesn't say that there weren't people out there with a lot of anger at Donald Trump, et cetera, but I don't think it strikes as a genuine beginning of a movement. And my guess is the news cycle is going to forget about it pretty quickly if it already hasn't. And yeah, I think you've got Babylon Bee at its pretty said it best. Here we have the spectacle of people out celebrating no king, when in fact we have no king, and they're protesting freely. So they've sort of undercut their message with the very fact of what they're protesting against.
Well, obviously it was well organized. It happened across the country one day, on the same day that the president was doing the military parade, his birthday, the recognition of the 250th birthday of the Army. But to your point, you just don't, it's nowhere in the news today. It wasn't nowhere in the news yesterday. I mean, it looked like it was a lot of show and no impact.
Well, I was looking for it on the weekend. I couldn't find it when it was happening. Yeah. So yeah. Well, I guess that's good. You know, but we've still got over 70 million people who did not vote for Donald Trump, and so there's going to be opposition throughout this administration.
What's your take on the big beautiful bill and its process through Congress right now?
Well, it's big. And nobody describes it as beautiful anymore, except for maybe those of us who have to read the title of it. You know, we actually wrote that into the bill. Sometimes it's a nickname, but now this is actually called the One Big Beautiful Bill. And it's got a lot in there that's good, and a lot of things that conservatives and movement people are fighting about. The good things that are in there, it preserves the Trump's tax cuts from his last administration. It also does some things to fix Medicaid. You know, there are an awful lot of able-bodied people who've been on Medicaid that shouldn't be, and it fixes that. And then in the Inflation Reduction Act, they had massive subsidies for green energy, batteries, wind, solar, et cetera, the usual suspects. And those were going to big companies that didn't really need a lot of subsidies, or an awful lot of cases Democrat operatives. And my view, and I like a lot of people's view, if something depends on that amount of subsidies, in this case it was almost up to $1 trillion, you've got to question whether it's a really good idea. And if we want an energy policy, it should be based on less subsidy. And I'd include oil and gas in that category as well. So getting rid of that I think is a very good thing. Republicans, of course, it's not going to get any Democrat votes. I mean, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, head of the Senate and House Democrat parties, have both said separately that this bill is going to cause people to die. I mean, Jeffries says literally die. That'll be that's a little extreme, and I don't think that's going to win a lot of people over to his side. But on the Republican side, there are people that don't feel it goes far enough. Ron Johnson in Wisconsin wants to do a line-by-line analysis of this. What it doesn't do is it doesn't cut the deficit. If you believe that it's going to stimulate the economy, that means that it might help with the deficit. But if you treat that as something neutral, it actually increases the budget deficits. And the other thing it doesn't include is all the interesting things that Elon Musk came up with to cut fraud and waste from the federal budget, and it was not in there. And I think that caused Elon Musk's outburst against the bill, and now we've got a $9.4 billion, what's our term for it, rescission bill, which allows us to cut some of the things that Musk pointed out. So that's getting fixed. But it's I live near D.C. and these things are always messy, and you've got 53,000 lobbyists to come out to get the one piece of every single bill, and that's no different in this case. But I do think it will pass because the big thing is the Republicans need to make it pass to preserve the tax cuts.
Yeah, I was just going to go there. Isn't that the major motivation behind this bill, is to preserve the tax cuts from the first term?
Yeah.
The old saying is, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. This would be the first bite, don't you think?
It's the first bite. It's first bite. And, after the confusion about not having any of the Musk Doge cuts, they quickly responded, and they've got the first bill, which is coming out. And as I understand it, they've got 3 or 4 or 5 bills coming out after that to go after this thing piecemeal. Of course, they're, somebody like me who doesn't follow this incredibly confusing budget process that closely, these things are impossible to track what's in it. It's 1,100 pages, and you go on to one of the AI machines like ChatGPT or Claude, and you ask them how many line items are in this bill, and it can't tell you. I mean, it just literally, it cooks the computer to come up with how much is in this. And I think if we get back to the good old days of passing individual bills and individual things that everybody can understand and vote on, that would be a lot better. And I think that's what both Trump and the Republican leadership in Congress are going to be aiming for.
So with this bill, the big, beautiful bill now in the Senate, probably will see some adjustments. And then the recent bill that passed through the House of an additional $9.2 billion in cuts. Yeah. Is it possible, Bill, we are on our way to a balanced budget? Oop.
Can I give you a long pause and ask as if my sound isn't working?
Well, I didn't know if the computer froze, but go ahead.
That was on purpose. I tried to blame the computer, but it was actually me. I think we're a long way from balancing the budget. We've got a $2 trillion annual deficit, which is astonishing, particularly when you consider that, if we were spending just the money that we spent in 2019 before the COVID lockdowns, we would have a balanced budget today based on the revenue that's coming in. So, and that's Ron Johnson's point. We can actually go back and look at where all these increases came in and cut those back, and we could get to a balanced budget. But we haven't done that, and I don't see anybody working on that right now. I think one of the issues is our president, who I am a supporter of and think he's doing a lot of right things. He's not really a budget cutter. He likes to spend. He likes to build. I mean, he talks. We no longer, I think, if it lasts in the bill, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes or lower taxes on Medicare. Those are not going to reduce the deficit, and so I think temperamentally he's the wrong guy to lead that charge. And frankly, I don't think a lot of people would have voted for him if he were. So the cuts are not politically popular, tough to do, and maybe we'll make some progress, but I just don't. I think absent a massive capital markets crisis, you've heard of this word, the bond vigilantes, unless people stop buying, investors stop buying the federal debt, stop buying treasuries, or at least cause a strike and the interest rates rise significantly to make it impossible to finance it properly, I don't see anything being done voluntarily. My scenario has us running into some crisis. I hope it's a small crisis where we have to do it, and I think that would discipline the politicians.
To that point, how close were we to the edge had we not addressed this, and how close do we remain to the edge if all this passes?
Oh, I think we're still dancing on the precipice. It's still a close thing. We're not. This solves some things. Now, if you believe, as I do, that tax cuts help grow an economy and that people paying lower taxes reinvest in their businesses, spend money, save money, all of which are good for economic growth, I think it will have a stimulating effect. And I know, away from the spotlight, away from the main stage, we've got three guys running energy, interior, and the EPA, who are doing a great job on energy policy. And I think we could see a lot lower energy costs going forward, and that's going to be stimulating and help grow the economy and help grow our way out of the deficit. And if we are going to see any progress, it's going to have to come from growth, and that's happening behind the scenes. And I'm not so sure it's not a bad thing it's happening behind the scenes, because if what they were doing were widely known by the left, I think we'd be seeing nothing but attacks. And instead, they're focused on other stuff, which is sometimes I think that's Trump's big strategy.
Well, that was
make people outraged about one thing so you can get something else done that you really want to get done.
So before I run out of time, isn't that kind of the bottom line of the president's strategy, is to put more money in people's pocket to stimulate the economy, which creates the opportunity to pay down the debt? I mean, isn't that the big motivator here?
Absolutely. I think you put it perfectly. That's the summary, and everything else is noise.
Yeah.
And it's pro-American, it's pro-individuals, it's pro-middle class, it's pro even the people that didn't used to vote for Trump. It's pro for the Hispanic, Latino community, the black community. Black men are rushing in to line up to support Trump. So I think what he's doing helps everybody, helps a lot of regular people, and it's a growth agenda, and that I think is the right one.
Wow. All right. Well, I got to get you back because you have a lot to talk about here. But how do you rate?
We haven't even talked about it.
There's a ton here, but you were part of the first administration leading up to his election, and here you are today. How would you rate the president today?
Oh, I think it's night and day. I was involved in the transition in 2016. 2017. In fact, I ran about a third of the groups overseeing creating action plans for all the federal financial agencies, the SEC and Treasury and so forth. And, Trump didn't know Washington. He had no idea what he was going to need to appoint 4,000 people to run the government. He'd been running a deal shop, a real estate deal shop, and an entertainment boutique. And he was not ready, didn't know who to do it. The difference this time is the people he has surrounding him. I think, generally speaking, almost everybody in the cabinet is a notch or two or three above the choices last time, and they know what to do and they're getting it done. And he's also been very careful about getting people who support his agenda. And so he's got a lot fewer covert operations working against him this time. And he also is a different man. I mean, I think the Butler assassination attempt, I've only been with him once since then, but for people who've been around him, he's really, he's a serious man. And he enjoys being an entertainer and still outraging people, but I think he thinks he's on a mission. And so this is 2.0 is a lot better than 1.0.
Bill, you're fascinating. We'll stay connected. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out his website, BillWaltonShow.com. There's the picture of that landing page. You can check out the show and all of his other things going on, BillWaltonShow.com. Thank you, friend, for your time. Let's stay connected.
Okay, love it. Like talking with you. Hope to talk with you soon.
Thank you.